Good afternoon, good morning. I'm Meteorologist Chris Ramirez with the KHOU 11 weather team. We are tracking this blinding rain that is currently moving through the city of Houston. This is actually looking out towards downtown. You really cannot see out of this camera right now. There is a severe thunderstorm warning that is now in effect for that includes portions of Houston. And we're going to have to keep an eye on this system as we are seeing some strong winds. I'm going to go ahead and loop our wind speeds back within the past several minutes. We've had close to a good 30 to 40 mile an hour winds with this system as it's now moving in towards town. But that severe thunderstorm warning does include the city of Houston, and that is until 11:45 this morning. It also includes portions of Brazoria, Fort Bend, and much of Harris County, as we're seeing lots of violent lightning as well as torrential rain. And the thing to note is that this flooding threat is definitely starting to increase for the city of Houston as we go throughout the rest of our day, as these storms are slow moving. As we look at the current situation, kind of looking closer to downtown, much of Houston right now dealing with some very heavy blinding rain. Not really a good idea to be out on the roadways. We're also getting some reports of some power outages across town, but just keep in mind that a good chunk of the central portion of Houston dealing with these darker red colors, showing that heavy rainfall that will be definitely there and not really moving fast going into the next few hours. As we look at the radar estimated rainfall, we are seeing close to 9 to 10 inches of rain. This is for north of the city. These are the same storms that dumped this torrential rain across along I-45. So between 8 and 10 inches of rain north of town. But as we get closer towards Houston, we've already seen up to 5.5 inches of rain in and around just near the I-45 corridor. So keep that in mind as we go throughout the next few minutes, that we are expecting this torrential rain to really not move all that fast as we go throughout the rest of our within the next hour or two. As we look at the current situation, we're also much of the city, much of areas north of town are under that flash flood warning, and that does include entire Montgomery County. This is definitely affecting a lot of folks, especially along 45 and along the I-69 corridor. We've seen reports of flooding on those roadways as we've seen this rain just really sort of creeping down southward within the past several hours. So definitely something to look at in terms of not being on roadways. Be extra cautious. We're seeing mostly lots of lightning with these storms as it's now moving through downtown Houston, but this is where we're going to start seeing that flooding threat starting to increase as we go into the next few hours. So as we look at future cast, we are expecting this to continue its southward movement across the city of Houston. We've seen these really just remain over southeast Texas within the past 3 to 4 hours. Even we were tracking these as early as 4 o'clock this morning. But as we look at the future of what we're expecting, we could very well still continue to see these downpours in the picture at least as late as 4 o'clock, 5 p.m. And we're really not expecting this to really let up until we get closer towards 6 to 7 p.m. But expecting this torrential rain, blinding rain that's now ongoing here across Houston. Also, it's going to contribute to that flooding threat as we go into the next few minutes, or actually the next couple of hours there. So looking at that severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for portions of Houston. It does include Harris counties, but we are expecting that to continue. That's going to be in place until 11:45 this morning. We saw some radar indicated 60 mile an hour winds moving through a little closer towards the 610 loop on the northwest side along 290. Now those winds have definitely decreased as this storm is moving southward. So that's some good news, but that probably more than likely caused some power outages in and around that location. So as we look at our velocity, this is looking at those wind speeds. We're now seeing most of the stronger winds now starting to move into the eastern portions of the Houston area. Now moving along the I-10 corridor, Cloverleaf, Deer Park, now seeing those higher wind speeds. I'm going to go ahead and track to see exactly how fast these winds are, but we're seeing close to 49 to 50 mile an hour winds now starting to move through East Houston. And so we are expecting some possible pea-sized hail with that as we go through the next few minutes, but we're looking more likely that the winds have weakened significantly, but we're still seeing it pick up a bit as the center of this storm is now moving through the eastern portions of the city. So not expecting this to really let up. This is very slow moving. So as well as dealing with this wind threat, we are also dealing with that increasing flooding threat for our area roadways and our area, definitely rivers and streams going into the next few hours. So Rain, lots of heavy rain ongoing right now across the Houston area as these storms, these are the same storms, like I said, that were bringing some flooding across Kingwood, even across portions of Spring, Conroe, the Woodlands along I-45 and I-69. Now these are now making a more southerly track across the area as they're moving southward. But they're going to keep that severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Brazoria, Fort Bend, Harris counties. That does include the city of Houston. Now moving southward along closer towards League City. But if you have to find yourself, you probably remain indoors at least until these storms pass, because this is going to start this is blinding rain. To give you a sense of what we're really looking at in terms of the rain that out of our camera, we're definitely expecting this to really you really can't see out of it. This camera is supposed to be facing downtown Houston. But that blinding rain, I can only imagine, is probably problematic if you do have or find yourself out on roadways. Trying to make sure that this camera does load, but we are expecting this to continue at least for the next couple of hours, as this is going to start bringing some flooding concerns here for Houston. Even though we were seeing this north of town, now we're going to have to concentrate on what's happening and how much rain is going to be falling per hour across the area. So this is looking at towards downtown. You really cannot see out of this camera, as you're able to still see somewhat make out that those cars are really slowing down to a crawl. But warm temperatures, very humid conditions, very heavy rainfall right now ongoing across the town and across Harris County, as these storms were bringing in the flooding concern, the flooding threat. We've already seen the torrential downpours cause many problems along 45 and along 69. But just keep in mind that these are slow moving, and we're going to continue to see this flooding threat to last at least for the next hour or two, or at least part of between 4 to 5 p.m. as we are continuing to see these storms now making a southerly approach into town. So mostly that severe thunderstorm warning, the National Weather Service is keeping that in effect. We're seeing some more higher wind speeds now moving in through East Houston. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on our radar and what we're seeing. So where you're able to see where the lightning is at. Right now we're seeing some strong lightning that's now ongoing for portions along 290, even 45 North Houston, Greens Point area, even 249 Willowbrook. Now that lightning is now expecting to move into the center of town. It's kind of indicating where the stronger portions of this storm is, as we continue to track this heavy rain that is now going to start to contribute to a flooding threat across the area. So the National Weather Service is also including much of north of the area, north of Houston, under that flash flood warning. I could only imagine with the torrential rain that's falling that might be extended as we head into the next 30 minutes to an hour. But just keep in mind that we are still continuing to see this be in the picture at least until probably 4 to 5 p.m. as our future track model, our in-house weather model, is showing that we are expecting this to linger around and this still continue to be slow moving across the area. So be extra cautious. You might want to stay indoors if you need to travel. Probably not recommended, because those roads are going to start becoming problematic here across Houston very shortly. But looking at futurecasts, we're still continuing to see those heavy downpours in place at 4 p.m. at least until 5 p.m. going into the next few hours, and we're eventually going to see that break ongoing as we head into later on this evening, probably likely around 7 or 8 p.m. So be safe out there, and definitely you can always stay up to date with the latest weather forecast on KHOU.com as well as on the KHOU 11 weather app. And just keep in mind that the National Weather Service is keeping that flash flood watch in effect at least through tomorrow afternoon, as we're going to continue to see flooding concerns as all of that heavy rain north of town is now having to flow southward along the San Jacinto and Trinity rivers. So keep that in mind. Heavy rainfall in Houston, winds weakening just a bit, but just definitely starting to see that flood concern increase for Houston as we head into the next hour or two. Of course, you can catch us live on air on KHOU 11 News at 12 p.m. Myself, along with meteorologist Kim Castro, will be bringing you the latest weather updates and what to expect at least for the next 2 to 3 days.